to talk about tonight. We're going to be talking about how now is actually a great time to buy new or used, despite what's generally for the last 2 years, we've been being told do not buy right now. And we missed out some amazing deals. We're also going to be talking about the brand new Mazda RX7, how it absolutely kills it. It's sports car nirvana, if you ask me. And you've got brand new Honda Prelude. It amazes. But here's the catch. We'll obviously cover that in the show, not right now. So we're just talking about what we're going to be covering in the show tonight at Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. So there's trouble in paradise. I'm foreseeing this. There's going to be trouble in paradise for the brand new Honda Prelude. And we're going to be talking about tons of new Ford Mavericks for sale. But don't be fooled. We'll talk about actually how to get one. And that's actually going to tie back into how now is a great time to buy. So the end of our live is actually, oddly, really well tied into the beginning of our live. And if you take notes, hon, because of this new microphone setup, it will completely shake the whole system, the whole camera. Alrighty then, folks. So I'm Johnny from Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. Before we get started, please hit the thumbs up button. We got Marie here with us this evening. And, our first topic is going to be talking about how now is a great time to buy. And I think M. Peugeot would agree with me on this because he just bought a brand new F-150 and he also bought the brand new Ford Mustang. And we'll talk about that. We'll slice that in, blend it in with our overall market talk and why we feel now is a great time to buy a new vehicle. We're going to be, very contrarian and go against the grain, as we often do. We don't want anyone getting fooled, and we do cover the real deal here. So let's put the pedal to the metal and get talking about our first subject of the evening. So episode 1, if you're watching this as a live, thank you so much for making it here. The WB always here, even on a football night. Thank you so much. Ridgeview, thank you so much for moderating the chat and being here every single week. Never misses, unless there's illness or whatnot. And, often we've got, JM Genoa, thank you so much for being in. Adam Rancher, howdy, thank you for making it in. And I'm surprised we don't see M. Peugeot in right quite yet, but we'll be talking about his case. He really ties into how now is a great time to buy. And of course, I'll have a little asterisk beside that because it all depends. Everyone always forgets a very important aspect of the overall purchasing process, and that's the trade-in. So we're going to be breaking this up into mini episodes. If you've already seen the whole live, thank you so much. And if you really want to help the channel out, just catch those mini episodes. You've already seen it, so just let it play in the background and hit the thumbs up button. And if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe and hit the bell notification so you don't miss any important information that will help you save thousands when buying a new vehicle. So starting it right up with our episode 1. Now is a great time to buy new, folks. You gotta believe me on this one. Marie's done her research as well. Now is a great time to buy new because of several different variables coming into play, which just wasn't quite the case prior. So let's get to the appropriate slide for this. Marie, do you want to tell us a little bit about your research? I think you looked particularly into Ford.
Yeah, you want to start with the statistics?
Start with the Ford statistics, because I can tell you, as a general aspect, the market, dealers are getting more and more filled with vehicles, and this does have an effect on getting a great deal because dealers are going to be more willing to make a deal happen, and manufacturers, they're going to be getting they're going to get a lot of heat from dealers. We're going to be talking about how dealers are going to be facing between, depending on the size of their dealer, a medium dealer paying $250,000 in interest this year to as much as some dealers $3 million in interest, even $4 million in interest payments. This motivates dealers to make a deal with you. So let us know what's been going on at Ford for sales, and then we'll get to the general market.
The statistic I will show you is from Ford Authority. It's about the US market. So it went down 5% in October 2023. But it's not that bad. Just to start, it's at both Ford and Lincoln. But electric vehicle went up 9.1%, hybrid too. So we see that many person want that kind of car now for sure. SUV just a little increase of 0.6%, but it's in the trucks that it went down a lot, 10%, and internal combustion vehicle 8.8%.
Now I'm going to put you on pause right there. Did I understand correctly? You just said truck sales went down, and now are we talking year over year or month over month? So like last month, then moving into this month. Which one?
Yeah, this one is for only the October month, if we compare.
Okay, so for October, truck sales went down by what percent?
It's 10.5.
10.5%. And a lot of that has to do with truck prices. They've gone up from 2022 to 2023. Let's put it on an average of about 20%. In 3 years, the Dodge Ram has gone up 40-some%, 43 or 49%, playing off memory, because we all know how I am with finding the right slide right at the right moment. I can't talk and work the slides at the same time. We know truck prices have gone up. And just recently, one of my favorite automobile news channels, because they use data, and I respect people that use data. You see them right down here. Ray and Zach, great people. They've got the Ray and Zach show as well as Car Edge. You can look up information if you're in the United States. You can find out a lot of very helpful information using their website, Car Edge, because they'll let you know how many days a vehicle has been on the market, which is a good negotiating point, because that means how much interest has the dealer paid on that vehicle. And paying a lot of interest gives a dealer a lot of interest in selling it to you. They want to avoid paying interest. So they were talking about this, and they did mention that there's no rebate for the F-150 for the month of October. And Ford Authority mentioned that there's no rebate for the Ford F-150. Now let me share something with you, my friends. That is true up until basically the morning of the 14th of November. There will be a cash rebate. And it doesn't mean that it's necessarily better, because right now there's no rebate on the Ford F-150. And it doesn't mean that it's a bad time to buy a Ford F-150, because essentially we could say that Ford, in giving a much, much lower interest rate, because right now the average new vehicle interest rate is 9.95%. This is not Ford. This is the whole market. So that's Dodge, which has 140 days of vehicle inventory, meaning the average amount of time it takes them to sell a vehicle it would take them 142 days to sell all the vehicles essentially on the lots. If they stopped bringing new vehicles to the lot, they just said, okay, we're not delivering you any more new vehicles. The vehicles that are there, how many days would it take to sell them? It's 142 days. But Dodge, Chrysler, Lincoln, Infiniti, Volvo, Ram, Jeep, Mini, Ford, Buick, Genesis, Mitsubishi, Porsche, Mazda, Audi, Nissan, they all have too many days in inventory. You get down to Volkswagen at 63 days, BMW at 63. You're paying some interest. It's hurting a bit. You want to move vehicles, but you're not very eager to move vehicles. Dodge dealers should be unbelievably eager to move vehicles. They should offer you that, 4 or 5 pairs of shoes to go along with your Dodge so you can walk home.
Oh.
You caught that. I thought I could slide in a little dig without getting in trouble for it. I'm not
I
allowed.
catch that.
Yeah, I'm not. Marie says I'm not allowed to do digs on brands. They all have their highs and lows. Every model has their highs and lows, and some models are definitely a lot better than, the best model on the market versus the worst model on the market. There's a huge difference, but your average reliability model on the market versus the most reliable models on the market, there's not much difference, because overall, the average vehicles have gotten a lot more reliable than they were in the 1990s, and especially in the 2000s, as they tried to bring in new technologies, forced safety features, anti-smog, anti-pollution, and all this was new to manufacturers, and they had a hard time juggling it, we'll say. Honda and Toyota did a great job of it, and they're still selling vehicles despite big price increases based on that reputation. So here's the thing. Low interest rate, like on a 2023 Jeep Wrangler at 1.99%, but the 2024s have arrived for the Wrangler, so it's already last year's model. No 2024 F-150 has arrived, so it's still, the 2023 is still the current model year, but you can get 1.99% financing on that F-150. So that, folks, we have to realize is a rebate, and it must be mentally treated and mathematically treated as a rebate. Calculate what that's going to cost you versus a good sales consultant at any brand. If there's 2 promotions in the month, so November 14th, generally almost all Ford models are getting a nice big cash rebate, but the interest is going to go up. So you're going to want to look at what's better for you. And as a general rule of thumb, if you're leasing because you're paying on a short period of time, it's better to take the big cash rebate and higher interest, unless you have a lot of negative equity. And if you're going to be purchasing, and you're going to really, if you're going to go purchase, even if it's 84 months or 72 months, definitely go with the lower interest, unless you plan on switching it in 1, 2, or 3 years. And you can actually do the math you can ask for an amortization table. Most dealerships can just print that rate out for you, and you can see 3-year mark, 2-year mark, 1-year mark, what you owe. And keep in mind, what you owe is going to affect your future deal. So I always recommend, for people who are only going to keep it 1, 2, or 3 years, take the bigger rebate. Unless you have some crazy negative equity that you're bringing in from your last deal. But if that's the case, really maybe you shouldn't be trading vehicles if you've got crazy high negative equity. Or you can always lease. When you have negative equity and you lease, if there's a gap insurance, you'll want to make sure that there's a gap insurance. But if the vehicle gets stolen or totaled, your negative equity is gone. Negative equity is when you trade in a vehicle that, let's say, is worth $30,000, but you owe $40,000 on it. You've got $10,000 of negative equity. Well, with gap insurance, which at least in our region for Ford, that gap insurance is free. It's part of the deal. So what's amazing is if the vehicle were to get stolen, totaled, or you end up at the end of your lease, your negative equity is now gone, and you get to start back with a clean slate. So I'm sorry, that was a long tangent to talk about truck sales being down by 10% at Ford. That's mostly due to the price increases, I believe. But I'll tell you, Ford is far more negotiable. This is now, thus far, the best time of year to buy a Ford, because you either can pick a really low interest rate, or you can get a big, huge cash rebate. Most Ford F-150s will have $4,500 to $5,500 off, depending on the model you're looking at. And the dealer probably is going to be might be enticed to, give you a little extra to sweeten the deal. So maybe just a little bit more for your trade, maybe an accessory or a few accessories. So keep that in mind. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of trucks at all the big three. They're motivated. They will.
Yeah, and just to add to what you said, because we said truck decreased a lot, but one truck didn't decrease. It's the F-150 Lightning that increased 52%.
Wow.
That's a lot. Yeah. And if we go year to date 2023 comparing to year to date 2022, it's an increase of 42%. So yeah, that's really good for the Lightning. That's the one that save all.
Save those truck stats. Now,
Yeah.
I'm going to look onto your phone. I'm going to steal your phone because the WB
no
had
problem.
a great question that I want to get to at the end.
Yeah, and during this time, I just want to point the most of the models that I know you liked. Just for example, the Ford Bronco, it decreased 56% in October, but it's comparing to October last year. This year, the plant was closed. Maybe it was because of that. Could have a little correlation there. Same for the Ranger. So it was closed, went down 88%. But if we look for the Bronco year to date, 2023 comparing to 2022, it only decreased of 1% in a year. So it's not that bad. It's just this month, maybe because of the plant that it was closed, it makes a big difference probably. If we look for the Edge, this one increased 114%. That's a lot. But if we compare year to date with last year, it's only 12% more. So I don't know what happened, but in October, a lot of people wanted a Ford Edge. For the Escape, it increased 26%, the Explorer 4.7%, the Maverick 3.22%. Year to date, it's a difference of around 25%, almost. And for the Mustang, it increased 11%. So it's not that bad for these models that we speak a lot about normally. The one that decreased, it was the Bronco, like I said, the Ranger, Transit, all the rest of the F-Series in the truck. The Ford GT, it's interesting. I see it decrease 100% because they are at 0 unit for this month. Last October 2022, they were selling 8 units. So for sure, it's not a car that we buy every day, but for October, nobody bought that car. And the EcoSport decreased, the e-Transit, the Expedition. But it's not bad at all. Ford in total only decreased 5%, 34. And year to date, if we compare to last year, it went up 8%. So Ford it's not just October that will do the year. The rest of the year is good. Where it hurts, it's on the Lincoln side. All the model decreased. The Aviator 3.29%, and year to date 37%. So that's a lot. The Corsair, Nautilus, Navigator, everybody decreases. So year to date, all the Lincoln in total, it went down 5%. It's more on the Lincoln side that it will hurt. And just so you know, the number of units for this year at Ford, they are showing 1.5 million unit. Last year it was 1.4, so it went up overall. So it's not a bad year, it's just a bad month of October.
And production, though, I'm going to interject. Production from last year there was a lack of production. And this year, just before the UAW strike, production was back to pre-pandemic levels. And now we're going to also be going back, now that the Ford Ranger and Ford Bronco factory that was shut down for over a month, part of those Bronco sales being down and Ford Ranger sales being down is really because, well, the Ford Ranger, Ford Bronco factory was closed. But here's the catch. Those Bronco numbers, Ford Ranger numbers, down artificially. But overall, because the factory was closed, but overall, things aren't quite as great as they have been, because production has gone way up, but demand hasn't gone way up. So production shot way up, and supply stayed just a little bit better than what it was last year. So there's two ways to look at this. You can do the simple way of looking at dealer lots and saying, wow, dealer lots are full. I've got about $18 million of inventory right now, new and used vehicles. And that's a lot of inventory. And there's a huge cost that will cover mathematically why that's a motivating factor to make deals. But you can be the YouTuber that goes to lots and says, look at all these vehicles. No one's buying vehicles. That's not true. We just covered the data at Ford, but that data is true across the market. In many of our other lives, we've gone brand by brand, showing you how almost every brand has gone up in sales, but production has gone up higher than those sales or demand. So when supply, production, is higher, much higher than the demand, the sales are still better than in 2022. But the production is so much higher, we end up filling lots and having too much inventory. So the reason you can get a great deal right now isn't because no one is buying. And it's because, it appears like no one is buying because lots are full. That's really horrifically inaccurate. To say nobody's buying is dumb. It's dumb that's what I call clickbait. When you have a title that is unbelievably true and ignorant of facts and data. And that bothers me. Clickbait isn't when a title is catchy or asks an important question that draws in your attention. That's what titles are supposed to do. Do people expect titles to be such as car information at 5? That's not how titles work. Titles are supposed to draw in your attention and bring in your curiosity. But unfortunately, we won't be able to take notes tonight, though. I know you love taking your notes, but we won't be able to do that tonight. So unfortunately, lots being filled, it's unfortunate. The internet's going to make you believe that lots are filled because no one's buying, and that's not the case whatsoever. Now, sales have gone up from last year, and that also doesn't mean that, oh, wow, if there's more sales this year, then the deals out there must be amazing. No, it doesn't indicate that either. Unfortunately, to figure out whether there's a good deal requires a good deal of homework, a little bit of research. So what I can tell you from looking around on the market, if we go back, first of all, to talk about Lincoln, yes, Lincoln has been forgotten this year, and I think it's because of a lot of vehicles like the Bronco, the Ford Maverick. A lot of people are buying, are ordering new Ford Rangers, ordering and buying Broncos, and ordering and waiting on Ford Mavericks. And a lot of these people that I'm seeing a lot of them would normally buy Lincolns. I'm seeing a lot of 50, 60, 70-year-olds buying a Maverick because they're like, this makes a lot of sense. I see a lot of people that would have maybe bought a Lincoln Nautilus or an Aviator say, oh, I'm going to spend $70,000 on a Bronco. That thing is really, really cool. So Lincoln kind of getting forgotten, but on the 15th and 16th, I am going to Toronto to check out and drive the brand new Lincoln Nautilus. So make sure you do. That's brand new. So inside and out, all new. I do hope that you'll hit that bell notification and subscribe button so that you don't miss out, because I'm going to be really focusing in on that product like I love to do. But here are reasons why you can get a great deal. First of all, inventory. You see Dodge up at 142 days. They've got the highest inventory. Chrysler, Lincoln, high inventory. Infiniti, Volvo, these are all places. Jeep, if you go to a Jeep dealer, you should either be getting a great deal in regards to the interest rate, low interest, or you should be getting a great deal in regards to a rebate or a mix of both. And Ford with 88 days of, it's now a bit more because this chart is, it's not, I didn't take it, it wasn't Wasn't watching Ray and Zach just yesterday. So it's a bit more in some dealers. It's a little lower, and some dealers it's higher. Right now at my dealer, we really kind of told Ford, give us everything you can send us. And we're now renting 2 additional parking lots. It's not because we just took the bare minimum and we're overflowing. It's because we asked for a lot more. So you'll also see YouTube videos that will go, look at this dealer's hidden lot. They've got things are going really badly for them. No, we just had a fantastic October sales month. A lot of units moved. Huge success, but we also have a huge inventory. And at the end of the day, that huge inventory is going to be what really motivates us. Every dealer with a lot of inventory is going to be on the phone and by email telling their Toyota, barely any inventory at Toyota. So there's a problem right there. At Toyota, you can expect to not get a good deal. They're going to want to add markups or force you on extra products that, saying the vehicle has to come with that, even if it's your order, because Honda, Toyota, Kia, Subaru, Lexus, Cadillac, Land Rover, Hyundai, they all do not have enough vehicles. Kia, they don't have enough vehicles. So those aren't places. It's going to be very difficult getting a good deal because when inventories are low, manufacturers generally won't give you a great deal when it comes to either interest, rebate, or a mix of the two. And the dealer isn't very motivated either. They'd like to have some vehicles on the lot for road tests and figure, well, we'll sell that unit when someone comes along that can afford it, meaning they'll ask the price that they want for it. They'll let capitalism work and say, we'll sell it at market value. So let's close this one down and check out another factor. So another big factor, and this is probably the biggest one right now. Let's look at some serious numbers, some seriously scary post-Halloween numbers. You've got a loan amount of $18 million. So right now, my dealership, we've got about $18 million in new and used inventory. Paid over 1 year at a 7% interest rate because, folks, dealerships are going to be paying between roughly 6.5% interest. And if the dealer has bad credit, they might pay 11, 12, 13, or 14% interest. But generally, a dealer should be paying roughly 7% interest right now. With that being calculated monthly, every month, the dealer needs to come up with 1.5, roughly almost 1.6, $1,557,000 of payment. So they've got to sell enough vehicles to cover that. So they've got to sell a lot of vehicles. Now, over the total of 12 payments, you're going to pay $18,689. Meaning your total interest for the year, $689,777. That's a lot of reason to be open to taking a deal, to taking an offer. Because remember, 2.5 years ago, if you made an offer to a dealer below MSRP, they were laughing at you. And I remember back in 2022, there was even situations where there might be, let's say a $5,000 manufacturer rebate, and the dealer was just like, well, we're keeping that. I know dealers that did that. They just said, inventory is slowly disappearing. We're going to keep that manufacturer rebate because soon we're going to run out of vehicles. And, it's kind of like stacking up for the winter. Squirrels burying their nuts so that they can have their nutty treat in the winter. So that's what some, and I'd say even many dealers were thinking about, geez, in 2 months, I'm out of vehicles. So I'm keeping the manufacturer rebate. And then manufacturers caught on and like, well, we're getting rid of the manufacturer rebate because you don't need to keep it. So that's what was happening then. But right now what's going down is that your medium-sized dealership is going to be paying basically $700,000 in interest per year. And of course, That's if they had all their vehicles at the beginning of the year and then they sold them all at the end of the year. What really happens, obviously, is there's an in and out effect, but this means that dealers generally, they don't want to lose money. And some dealers will be paying for $5 million of interest per year because they sell, let's say, 7,000 vehicles per year. We're at about 14 to 1,600 vehicles per year. But some dealerships, the biggest ones in the US, I think sell more around 10 or 12,000 units per year. So you can imagine that there's definitely some dealers that are looking at potentially $4 million in interest payments. And to manage your business well, you need to make sure that those interest payments, you get that interest cost down as low as possible. So someone making an offer below MSRP, of course, giving the entire manufacturer rebate and maybe giving a bit more, a little, being open to accepting an offer that's, not ideal. I'd say dealers are there. They need to be if they want to make room for new inventory and avoid losing money. Now, of course, there's what every manufacturer that I know of has what's called a floor plan. In a floor plan, you don't have to worry and think, oh my goodness, dealers are going to rip me off because they have more interest than they've had in 30 years to pay. So they're going to need to make that money back somewhere. Manufacturers have thought of this in advance and they give dealers what's called a floor plan. A floor plan means, yes, this interest exists. However, the floor plan is going to cover you for about, let's say on average, it's about $1,000 per unit back from the manufacturer. Well, if you're selling, let's say, 1,000 new vehicles in a year, you're looking at an average of $1,000 per vehicle back. You're looking at potentially $1 million back. So you'll be okay as long as you sell that vehicle that comes in within, let's say, 6 months. So the faster you sell it, the more that floor plan could be potential profit. And the longer you keep it for, well, the more likely the floor plan won't cover the interest you have on the unit. So just all to say, now can be a great time, folks, to buy a vehicle. Last month, I'd say September, October was the best because now trade-in values, if you've got a trade-in value, they're going down a little. They're going to go down. They've already come down for November. So I'd say now's a good time to make a deal if you've got a relatively valuable trade, because if you wait until December, your trade's going to be worth less than what it's worth now. If you wait until January, your trade is going to be worth less than it's worth now. And what if you wait until March or April? Well, then your selection of 2023s with a rebate on them are going to be, well, your selection is going to be quite poor if there is even 2023s that can be found. Be a good time to lease a 2024 because new model, higher residual, meaning you'll pay how much you pay of the vehicle. Let's say residual right now on an F-150 is at 50%. If you order one, the residual is at 53%. What does that mean for a lease? It means that if you lease a 2024, you only pay 47% of the vehicle over 4 years. But if you lease a 2023 at a 50% residual, you have to pay 50% of the vehicle over the next 4 years. Simply put, the 2024, less of a good deal when it comes to rebate or interest, but you're paying a smaller percentage of the vehicle because it's newer. So all important to keep in mind. And when it comes down to it, most Fords at the end of the lease are worth more than their buyback price. So when you're shopping around, whether it's Ford, GM, Dodge, Kia, Hyundai, Toyota's a good one for good resale value or residual or buyback option. Leasing a Toyota or leasing a Ford, I like the idea of leasing because you get to the end of your lease and often a Ford or a Toyota is worth more than the buy it back price. So you got to make sure that you're leasing a lease that has a buyback option because that's cash. If it has a buyback option and it's a vehicle with good resale value, that's cash in your pocket or potentially maybe a $5,000 or $6,000 reduction. Or if it's a Ford diesel Super Duty, you might have $15,000 or $20,000 from your trade-in lease to go in the reduction box to save you taxes on that amount as well. So folks, leases get a lot of, I know Zach from Car Edge seems to not like leases one bit, whereas Ray seems to find, hey, that's, if you've got negative equity, that can be a pretty good option. And a lot of people see it as, oh, a lease, at the end I own nothing. Well, I can also tell you, if it has the buy it back option, no, you might actually own something. You'll own the positive equity, or the value of the vehicle being worth more than the buy it back price. And what I've seen in over 10 years of being in the car business is usually, and buying vehicles for a very long time, I used to always buy my vehicles. And to make it an affordable payment, I'd finance it on 72 or 84 months. And then when I'd want to trade it 1 or 2 years later, I often was upside down or had negative equity. Simply put, I owed more than the vehicle was worth. And that difference, negative equity, I financed onto the next vehicle. And at least with a lease, if after a year when you want to trade it, or 2 years when you want to trade it, often you only have to wait 1 or 2 more years and the negative equity is gone. And probably at Ford or Toyota, it's going to be positive equity, cash in your pocket. So that covers our topic for why now is a very good time to buy a vehicle. And I personally wouldn't wait till December, because I don't think the deal, I think Car Edge said it right. The deal might be, $500 or $1,000 more. But if you have a trade-in that's worth $30,000, if it drops by 5%, you're going to lose a lot more on your trade than what you're going to gain on the rebate on the new. So if you're watching this as an episode and not as a live, well, thank you so much. Please don't forget to, what could people do to help us out?
Like and subscribe, please, to help us out.
Yes.
And just before we go to the next episode, the WB has a good
feed
question.
And dress a poodle.
How much extra do you think we are going to have to pay because of the strike settlement?
Now, I believe it was Ford themselves that said the new settlement adds about $900 to the production price. And I myself, from the research I did during the strike, did some math and, came out with the fact that generally labor, manufacturer by manufacturer, consists of 5 to a maximum of 10% of the overall cost of the vehicle. And generally it's about 5%. And that with the price increases that we have seen, the manufacturers pretty much everywhere have the ability to absorb that themselves. Now, if we continue buying vehicles at whatever price they offer them to us, no, they're not going to just, out of the kindness of their heart, drop their price. They're going to absorb it if sales slow down. And guess what? As we saw for October, there's a bit of a slowdown. So I suspect that manufacturers, I highly suspect, educated speculation, is that they have the space now to absorb it. And I don't think prices are going to explode in the next 2 years unless something else major happens. I'm not going to continue on that because that'll lead me into a rant. And I've got an hour for this live this evening if I want to have a nice poke bowl with my
The first subject was 35 minutes.
Yeah, you're not impressed at this right now. So hit that like, thumbs up, and share this information with people that need it to help them out know this. All right, so episode 2. The brand new Mazda RX7 is absolutely killing it. Let's go check this out. So any of you that want to follow along with a secondary device, just Google up Mazda RX7, new Mazda RX7, and we have got something pretty impressive here. I'd like to get it directly from Mazda. Inside Mazda.com, I think we can be pretty safe here. So from the Mazda webpage, it would appear the new Mazda RX-7 that premiered at the Japanese auto show, I think is car nirvana, sports car nirvana. I think this is close as close as you can get to perfection when it comes to styling, but someone with actual good taste is sitting right beside me. Give us a lending hand. What do you think, Marie?
It's a special look. I don't know how to call that. It's for sure totally different than the other models that we see at Mazda. So it's not how can I say that? It's not boring. It's fashion, but I'm not sure I love that fashion.
Okay.
Why? It's because it looks long and all the stuff are in the bottom. Too much in the bottom, I guess. So I'm not sure I love the curve.
But you're a truck girl. So
Yeah, I'm a truck girl, so I don't know what I'm talking about.
No, I didn't mean it like that. It's just
No, it's me.
a low
I'm laughing
slung
at that.
vehicle. You know, my Porsche 911. You're like, oh, you're not in love
But
with it the way I am.
It's not fancy and beautiful like a Porsche. It's different. It's futuristic, and at the same time, when we look on the side here, it's like there's not that much definition.
Okay.
It misses something there, I guess.
You are used to Mustang GTs that have a lot of side definition.
Maybe, yeah.
However, I'd point out, like my 2000 Porsche 911, there is definition in the rear. The definition is just the fact that it gets wider. It's a wide rump vehicle. This has a very, to everything that you'd say, I'd say there's a very big butt. And the very big butt is actually the butt
big.
of the vehicle. When we see this in live, that's going to be a beautiful wide line. As long as they put very wide tires on it and don't cheap out and put, slim tires on it. If they put wide tires on this, it is going to look great, because remember, this isn't a guaranteed styling of what we'll get. And even if we get it, I hope we do get it. The fact that they actually put a Mazda grille on it, which usually concept models that will never come to fruition are very exciting, but don't have much of the, you could say, family heritage that the rest of the vehicles have. It'd be like two parents that are, it'd be like you're looking at an ad and the parents are very so-so looking, and then, the 20-year-old daughter or son is like top model status, and you're like, well, this looks very much like, this looks very not real. Well, the automobile industry can be seen the same way. When you see a vehicle that they're saying, hey, look at this vehicle from Mazda, if there was no family genetics to it, it's a good sign that there's very little chance it happens. But they threw on the grille that we can see on the Mazda 3. Basically, all the Mazdas have this grille right here. Now, the lights are a little different. They're a little more narrowed down. But I really love how these lights keep actually a bit of, the original lights on the RX7 would have pretty much been this entire outline, but what they did is they put a daytime LED light running it through, and then you've got probably your low beams and high beams right there for a nice long, so they've mixed in genuine RX7 heritage with current Mazda family heritage, and a bit of long light, because that seems to be the new trend. If you're looking over at Kia, you're looking at Hyundai, most vehicles are going for this slender eye look. Now you've got the bottom grille, nice little air intake. I really hope, Mazda, you really mess up if you make these fake and the air doesn't go anywhere. This should be grill to bring air. It needs to bring air to either the engine or the wheels. And ideally, if you really know what you're doing, it's air to cool off the brakes and the engine. Because guess what? Some people like to actually really drive their vehicles. Now, we continue on. The wheels aren't that far-fetched. I'd be surprised if the final model comes out with, here I'd say what this looks on a car, this looks more than just 20-inch. It almost looks like a 22-inch wheel, and that wouldn't make it to the production model. And so little spacing would most likely not make it to production model, because some people will drive over speed bumps at fast speeds. Some people will drive through the snow, and I don't see that being really, I can imagine taking this out with snow tires and this entire area just filling up and the wheel kind of jamming up in ice. So I'd argue that I think this is an incredibly beautiful vehicle. If you look at the sculpted lines here, going down to the lights, the sheet metal, a little bit of added dollars to make a sheet metal that is, not just a flat bonnet. So beautiful bonnet on this. And the interior isn't so far-fetched to make me think that it's, not going to happen. You can also see tiny little mirrors here. That won't make it to production. Unless it's just a camera that shows up on a screen, they're going to have a real mirror. This won't pass any sort of, this will not be acceptable for the government. Basically, every vehicle needs to be made as if many, many 18-year-olds as well as 88-year-olds are going to buy the vehicle. So you can't expect someone with, you can't basically build a vehicle so that only the most talented, visually adept customers will be buying your vehicle. But I do like, you see right in the hood, a little two air extractors looking a little bit like fangs. You follow that down the hood. I think this, for me, this is much better looking than the current Corvette. WB, I'm not picking on you. I'll tell you, I love the new Corvette enough that I went to a Corvette dealership looking to probably put a deposit down on one. And actually, I was going to put a deposit on it, and then I was going to,
but they didn't
beg
want
forgiveness
you.
afterwards, but they just didn't want me. They're like, no, we're like 5 years out. Forget about it. So I forgot about it. And I disagree. In Canada here, a 3-year-old Corvette still has $20,000 over MSRP on it. That's silly. And a 1-year-old Corvette has, a little less. It's at least now it's not 50,000. It's only 40,000 markup. But I almost feel like a lot of dealerships are just selling these Corvettes to, contacts and friends, kind of with the idea of either keep it forever or, we're going to sell it to you at MSRP so we don't get in trouble and eat heat from GM, but sell it back to us in 1, 2, or 3 years. We'll make it worth your while, and that's where they make their money. Arcubo, no missed rants. You're still in time. We'll see. I think I can get through an episode without a rant. There was a lot that bothered me this week, but I was heated up about it on Friday, and I had a baptism. 2 of my nieces had a baptism today, and that took a bit of my rant out of me, reminding how important it is for to really be looking for peace. So peace internally, change. When we want change, we need to start it with ourselves before expecting it of the world. Had a guy at the gym this week walk into the gym bathroom, flipped out because, it was a little dirty. There was a bit of pee. But then he went to the washroom, he urinated, and he didn't wash his hands, and he went and worked out. So the guy who was having a fit about the world around him wasn't doing any change and was actually making the world around him worse. The very thing that bothered him is the very thing that he was doing to others. Almost bringing me into a rant because there's very oddly, I don't have the video, but you can find it in YouTube. There is sadly some transgender folks being very pro Hamas, and it's mind-boggling because they're pro the very thing that would destroy them. It makes me worry. It makes me worry when people can be brainwashed to the point of supporting the very thing that would not just harm but kill them. Really worries me. Well, it makes me think that, thank goodness, our vote isn't worth that much. Because everyone gets to vote whether they're all right, or whether they're all right or not. No test before voting. Test for driver's license, so many tests, but no test to be allowed to have kids, and no test either before you vote. So that's that. I accidentally went into a rant, didn't I? But I think this is a beautiful vehicle, Marie. You're on the fence, or are you definitely thinking that it's not for you?
I would say if somebody really loves the brand Mazda, it's a good one. The front, the nose make me think of an Audi R8. So
Well
yeah,
said.
it's more fancier than we're how can you say that? Habitué. What's the word in English?
Used to.
Used to. Thank you.
Habituated.
Yeah, more looks that we used to fancy nose with Mazda. So I guess they did well. And I see the seats looks like a sports car a lot.
The
So
steering
that's a
wheel,
good thing.
deep dish steering wheel, a good offset to that steering wheel, very much racer style. You've got race bucket seats that I hope make it to production, a steering knob to burn your palm on like nobody's business. I've put these in my vehicles before because I make dumb decisions at times. I can tell you, these will burn the palm of your hand. That will not make it to production. The steering wheel will not make it to production because all that recess is going to be replaced by an airbag, which is going to eventually almost make it to being flush with the rest of the wheel. So, I like I don't want anyone to be fooled. I watched Ratty's Rides review this and cover this, I should say, and I was like, I'm buying it. I'm gonna buy that. And then when I got to thinking about it, I said, boy, Ratty's Rides, I love his positivity. I love his energy. But every vehicle he reviews, he's so positive. I want to buy them all. And I'm not a billionaire. I'm not even a millionaire. So in assets, yes, but I'm not a multimillionaire. And it was one of those things where I was like, my goodness, I got to cover this. But I need to cover the real deal so that we don't all try to put the pedal to the metal on every vehicle that comes to the market. But this is definitely I'm looking forward to it. I want to see what they do at production. I really do hope they go with a lot of soft touch, and really this looks actually like leather on the dash inside. I'd love to see vehicles, let's say, I don't mind the idea of a vehicle being $2,000 more because the interior is really upscale. So I think this is going to be a beautiful vehicle. I really do think it will make it to production. I think it will be sports car nirvana. But I really also think that I really am hoping, really hoping that Mazda, going with the rotary engines, I hope they have a reliable rotary engine in this vehicle. So that's my big concern. The RX7, the original, 93 Mazda RX7, those are Ferrari-like lights. We've seen lights like that on Ferraris before. This thing, if it's under 100 grand, I'm going to be picking one up. If it looks anything like this when it makes it to it, but I think it's going to be pretty close when it makes it to production. I know you're looking at me like, what, you're going to buy a Mazda? Hey, I've had a lot of different brands.
Just because for the same price, many cars are more, I won't say interesting, but could have better feelings to have that, to own it. So it's just depend with the price. Sometimes you could just have something else that you will love more than that.
It is true when it comes down to it. I was watching videos. We were laughing because this video was saying, once you've had a Porsche, a 911, you can never have any other vehicle because if anything, you'll just get a second Porsche 911 or just keep trading them in. And we kind of laugh because our vision of the Porsche 911, we have driven the 2023 and we're impressed. We loved it. But we're like at 3 times the price of the if it was the exact same price as the Mustang GT, we'd have a decision to make. And I'd go with the Porsche if it was the same price.
Yeah, okay.
But the Porsche 911, the new ones, are 3 times more. And even at double the price, I still think it's, and at the end of the day, even if they were the same price, maybe I would still get the Mustang GT because of the sound of the engine, because I'm not for for the difference that you're going to see in the vehicle. You're going to see it on a track between a Ford Mustang GT and Porsche 911 2023. You're going to see the difference on the track. That's where it's worth spending a little more. But I like vehicles that make a lot of noise, low end on the RPM, so I don't have to go be, really breaking the law to really, enjoy the vehicle, to have sound, to have feeling and emotion. And the Mustang GT at 2,000 RPM has a lot of feeling and emotion. I just recently, I had one earlier this year, a 2022 GT convertible, and I just drove my brother's 2018, and I was like, wow, this 2018 overall is better than my 911 Porsche. And even if I had the price he paid and the price I paid, there's not much of a price difference. And had I gotten, let's say, and he's got an 18, had I gotten a 2007 or 2007 would have been more expensive. And a 2011 or 2012 911 would have been a lot more than his Mustang GT 2018. So I think smart money is a Mustang GT or a brand new Porsche. Because a brand new Porsche 911, you might drive that thing for 1 or 2 years for free.
And I really love what Arcubo said in the chat. He said it sort of looks stretched like an old Jag. That's true. That's the body of an old Jag.
The E-Type. And I absolutely love the 1960s E-Type Jaguar. I think it's one of the most beautiful vehicles that have ever been made. And this, if it comes to production, could be in my top 10 list of most beautiful vehicles ever made. I find this a lot better looking than the new Jaguar F-Types, because the new Jaguar F-Types is essentially not, the nose isn't stretched quite as much, and it's very angular. And I think what was truly beautiful about the original E-Type Jag was how rounded off it was. Now,
I love that color. If they do, they really do that color. That's the best one, I guess.
Now, I think we're going to leave brand new Honda Prelude, amazes, but that there's a catch, and that there's trouble in paradise for next week. Because now we need to talk about something that I think most of us came to this show for, and that's tons of Ford Mavericks for sale. But don't be fooled. So let's get to the right slide. Let's get this operational. So that's one of them. And if I were talented, I'd be able to quickly pull out last week. So last week was October
29th.
That's, I think it's not that I lack talent. I think I might lack eyesight. Our age difference is starting to show. All right.
I'm not sure. It's not that bad.
That's kind. Thank you. It's not. Thank you. Alrighty, folks. New episode. Tons of Ford Mavericks for sale, but don't be fooled, folks. Tons of Ford Mavericks for sale. And I'm going to cover for you what you really need to do to make sure that you actually get a Ford Maverick and you don't live in Dream La La world. And I'll also be thanking a few commentators that have really helped us out recently. So before we get started, please hit that thumbs up button. Share this video with someone that needs to know more about the Ford Maverick and how to actually get one. Maybe you suspect that someone you know has been looking at trying to get one for a year or two off a lot. Well, I'm going to help them out. So share the video and do hit the bell notification so that you don't miss out any of the important Ford Maverick information we are about to cover. So folks, the long and short of it is you can get a Ford Maverick off a lot, but here's the trick. So many appear to be available. If you actually go on the internet, you're going to see thousands for sale across the US. You're going to see hundreds for sale across Canada. And on lots, here's one, here's another. This was all photos taken all in the same day on a medium-sized Ford dealer. Oh, look, there's two. Oh, here's a new one. Look at this one. Oh, no, there's actually two in the photo. So you've got the FX4, you've got another Ford Maverick right behind. So that's one of them. FX4, black mags, pretty sharp looking vehicle. Fantastic deal. Whether you're looking at the EcoBoost with 250 horsepower, 80 pound-feet of torque, that is a lot of power for essentially 3,600 to 3,700 pound vehicle. That's a good time. And so you've got the two right here. You've got your all-wheel drive EcoBoost non-FX4. I do like the black mags that an FX4 brings to the table. So it's looking like there's a lot on dealers. And I didn't even take photos of all the Ford Mavericks at the dealer. But oh, wait, there's more. Here's a hybrid. You're going to see a ton of hybrids for sale across the internet. You're going to see even more. And when I say tons, I do mean you could find thousands of Ford Mavericks apparently for sale across Canada and the US. There's, oh, sorry, I'm going a little too quick. There's one there. There's a white one right beside it.
Yeah, cactus gray and a black after that.
I didn't even notice the black. That's
There,
right.
in there.
3, right? Thank you. I am happy you're here with providing us with your eyesight. Cheers. Give Marie a little applause in the comment section.
Thank you. But it wasn't that long since I waiting for my Maverick. I received it in last March.
Yeah, you waited like 18 to 20 months.
There was none in the lot.
None then. So it looks like there's now a lot, right? I didn't even take all the photos of all the Mavericks. There's, some right here, some right there, a black FX4. So many. Oh, now there's a red one, blue one. Okay, so lots of Ford Mavericks. They're on the dealer lots. They're on the internet. But all these Ford Mavericks you just saw, all of them will be picked up except for one, which is getting turned into a courtesy vehicle. And we get 15 phone calls per day because as soon as a vehicle is built at factory, it counts as inventory. And previously that was fine. Pretty much 99.5% of vehicles built at factory, 99.9% of vehicles built at factory were all dealer inventory as stock, like to be stocked, to be offered to the public. And the system never changed because now, at least for models like the Maverick, most models now, the F-150, Ford Edge, most Ford models, almost all Lincoln models coming out of the factory now are going to be stock and available. But for rare and hot ticket models like the Ford Maverick, Super Duty, the Ford Bronco, the first, 5 to 6 months of Ford Ranger, these vehicles are customer orders. And people have been wasting their time for the last 2.5, 3 years hoping to, basically they've been trying to catch a unicorn. I'm not here to say unicorns don't exist. Maybe they do, but I've never seen one. And the Maverick is almost as rare as those unicorns. So people who are spending hours on the phone trying to pick one up, share this video with them, save them a lot of time, because when a dealer does have one, they might want market value for it. So they might want over MSRP for it. And even if Marie had paid a little over MSRP for hers, it still wouldn't have been a bad deal because she still sold it. And, people have been telling you on YouTube to not buy a Ford Bronco. They're overpriced, for example. And I've been telling you for the last 2.5 years, do buy a Ford Bronco. Well, M. Peugeot bought a Ford Bronco and he's thrilled with his resale value. He just picked up a Ford Mustang 2024 Ford Mustang with the EcoBoost engine, 2.3 liter. I've owned that in a Mustang before and it was fun. I added a little blow-off valve adapter and had a lot of fun with it. As well as he also picked up an F-150 new and he got a good deal on both of them. He got great interest rate. And so you can see that in the comments. He threw it on the comment in one of our most recent episodes and he got a great deal. And he said, I'm glad, basically he was kind of saying like, Johnny's right. I cashed in on my high Bronco value while those high Bronco values are still there because they will go down. And Maverick values, once all these units coming in, once Ford building, let's say 150,000 per year, once they filled in all the people that have been waiting, because so many people are refusing to order, we are going to have dealer inventory. We might not have any or very little hybrid inventory this year, but we will have EcoBoost inventory. And when that happens, your EcoBoost trade-in value is going to drop. So if you're looking at switching vehicles for maybe, a new Maverick, now's a good time. You could take your shot. You might sell you're going to sell your Maverick either for a little bit over or a little bit under MSRP. And earlier in the show, someone asked about their Maverick in 5 years. Will it still be worth its original MSRP because of Maverick values going up? I don't see Maverick values going up enough in the next 5 years to keep your current Maverick value at the same price you currently paid. I think that's very much an effect of the last 3 years. As I said early on when YouTube was saying don't buy a vehicle right now because, price on an F-150, basically the deal was $1,000, $1,500 less good than pre-pandemic, and then $2,000 less good than pre-pandemic. I was saying the whole time, hey folks, these price increases nowhere near match inflation. These price increases are really great because inflation is much higher than these price increases, and eventually manufacturers are going to be in big trouble, and we're going to see big, huge price increases. And we saw that at the beginning of 2023. And at the beginning of 2023, I was predicting that summer or fall 2023 would be a better time to buy, but that trade values would go down. And while trade values really did go down in this summer and fall, and I'm now predicting they're going to go down again this winter with a bit of a rebound up in spring. But if you're looking at this time this year versus next time this year, all our trades are going to be worth a significant amount less unless we have a world event, unless we somehow, general, normal people who don't want World War III to occur, unless we, our wishes completely get ignored, and a very costly yet profitable for certain corporations World War III does occur, well then of course, if we have World War III, vehicle production is going to be way down and your trade value is going to go skyrocket through the roof. But let's hope that doesn't happen. I'm praying for peace. I am truly, truly praying for peace. But at the same time, a certain group in the world did F around, and now they do need to find out, because if they don't find out, it'll send a message to other bad players in the world that you can F around and that there's absolutely no consequences to effing around. However, in another part of the world where things are going down, just a reminder, there's about 600,000 Israeli troops. There's a lot of troops per actual combatant. They are looking for about 6,000 combatants. The ratio of troops versus enemies is much, much, much higher right now in Israel than it was during the Iraq War. It's many times higher. So, sending troops into, whether it's Canadian troops or US troops, sending them to Israel, things can be handled without, if the US actually has troops in Israel and a war breaks out, it'll give Iran a reason to jump in. And if Iran jumps in, we'll likely see China jump in, and we'll be hope that does not happen. I'm bringing my daughter into the world, and I'm absolutely praying for peace in the near future. So for Ford Mavericks, not much to pray for. I think the solution's pretty simple. These prices our trade-ins on Ford Mavericks are going to go down, but I think it's always going to be a truck that has very low depreciation. So it is a very good model to pick up, even if trade prices will go down.
Mm-hmm. And Arcubo asked a question about that. Do you know if there's a color of Maverick that will have the best resale value?
I'd say it's like pretty much any vehicle. The answer is always black, white, gray, and silver. The colors that
neutral
bother people the least. Now, black though, if you're not going to do a great job keeping it clean, then yeah, black. See here, no little lines on this, but I got this vehicle at a steal of a deal because the paint looked ruined. It was dull and full of lines. So your resale, if your paint's looking awful, it will affect your resale. So even before taking it in for a trade-in, don't hope that the dealer knows what they're doing. Pay to have the vehicle, either a polish or a compound. Make it look really sharp to make sure you get the right amount for your vehicle.
And Jim Mesmer Smith was asking, what's the current financing rate for the Maverick? I always highly recommend, don't trust anyone. Build the vehicle online no matter what brand you are. And it depends on, here we have the rate of Canada, US maybe could be different, I guess, too.
That as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So maybe build it on the internet so you make sure to have the good interest rate. It depends
Yes.
too on the term.
Here though we're in the 8th percentile.
Yeah.
We're in the 8th percentile.
Yeah. How many months you will have it will depend which percentage too.
So here's a Maverick that I want to talk about. It's the most recent Maverick to come into inventory. And this was bought April 11th. And I've removed the sensitive information. So I will show what this looks like. So I've removed the sensitive information, but we can see here, scheduled unclean, April 11th. And if we scroll all the way up, if you watch that in slow motion, you'll see the whole breakdown of how things move and their dates. But it was in the last train lot, the 13th, and then it actually showed up. It just showed up at the very beginning of November. So almost 7 months for an EcoBoost to show up. So the real way to get a Ford Maverick, it's not to pray and hope there'll be some on the lot unless you want an EcoBoost. There might be. There probably will be in 6 to 8 months. But the real way to get your EcoBoost is to order one. And for a hybrid, definitely order one, folks. These are great vehicles. They're worth ordering. You won't be disappointed. Even now, even with a negative equity on my Lightning, if this becomes available, I'm thinking I'm going to ask to buy it, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be told no. And that's okay, because I foresee the value, the trade-in values. I'm going to be told no because the idea will be like, oh, well, you're just going to pick it up for 6 months and then sell it for over MSRP and make money. And I don't think in 6 months I would sell this for over MSRP, because I think that there'll be about 6 or 7 of them available on my lot for sale, real sale. And that if I trade it in, I'll get, $10,000 less than what I paid. And if I sell it myself, I'll get $5,000 less than what I paid. But I originally thought I'd have, when everyone thought that I was picking up a Lightning because I wanted to resell it for $10,000, $15,000 more, I said, well, I actually think that I'll be 10 to 15 under. And it turns out that because Ford, I know that would be the case, but Ford dropped the price. So now I'm by 10 grand. So I'm 20 to 25 under on the Lightning. Ford, gosh, you sometimes do things that cause me a lot of trouble. Alrighty. So Ford Maverick, don't miss out on it. Completely worth the buy. I haven't been talking about this from before it even came out, because if it was not a great vehicle. I really see this as the people's champion, folks.
That's well said.
Now, please join us next week. If you can catch these episodes, if you've been here for the whole live, please drop a comment saying you've been here for the whole live or you're here for the end. So type finisher. If you're here for the whole live, please type finisher champ, because you're a champ. You made it through the whole episode. You made it through 2 mini rants that were accidental, hence why I didn't provide proof and evidence, because I planned on having 0 rants. But join us next week, because next week we're going to be covering the Ford Bronco. And if you do, when these episodes from the current live do get broken up, please help us out. Click on them. You can turn the volume off, let them play in the background, and then have a second episode play. If you're catching the end of this episode and you're watching it as a little mini episode, please do hit either pick the video to the left or to the right that's going to be offered to you, because that really does help YouTube figure, hey, this is information that we can share with people, that we can suggest that people watch. Because when we don't get suggested to people, we don't get views. And if we don't get views, we don't have any income whatsoever coming in. And I need that income for having crazy ideas, like having a brand new Lightning and a brand new Ford Bronco in the yard. That's a lot of payments. It's almost $3,000 It's it's about $2,800 in payments before plates and registration and insurance. So I'm well over $3,000 with all that. So help us out, folks. Next week, we will be talking about the Ford Bronco. We're going to be comparing the Ford Bronco 2023 and 2024 versus the Jeep Wrangler, because a channel that I really like, a fellow Canadian, Truck King, covered it, and he did a fantastic job covering it. However, he's not obsessed like I am. We like to cover one model and do 50 to 100 videos per model that we really cover. And he mentioned that there's no trail apps on the Ford. He also talked about how, if you have a soft top, you have a very limited opening. So we want to cover those differences, cover, the full real deal, and also really talk about what does the Jeep it's a new Jeep, the 2024. And there are aspects that Jeep does better than Ford. And there are also several aspects that Ford does a lot better than Jeep. So let's talk about that, folks. I want you to bring your comments. And if you do look forward to Bronco Talk, if Bronco Talk's the type of thing that interests you, please do drop it in the comments section. Say that, you're a Bronco fan and you'd like to hear more about the Ford Bronco. Folks, thank you so much for joining us. Marie, do you have any words for the group? Do you have any questions that we should cover before we head out?
That's all for now.
We had two poodles.
They were asleep. They will come tonight.
Yeah.
The other one is there.
Lily is here.
She just wake up.
These, when you like and subscribe, these are the faces that you are helping to feed and dress. Of course, as well as our future daughter on the way. We just got her room set up with the paint. The crib is set up. A lot of our friends and family have been very generous. You could say, of my generation, the last to have kids. So a lot of people are like, well, we've known for the last 5 years we're not having any more kids, and we're just starting. So we've had a lot of help from friends and family. We look forward to showing you how a baby seat fits into different models. So thank you, R Cubo. You've made it through the whole show. Thank you so much for High, for Low, Ridgeview. Thank you so much for moderating. Now, if you'd love to see no rants in these lives, please let us know. And if you like the mini rants, and it's okay that I don't fully flush an idea out and that kind of leave it so that you go out and do your own research to come to your own opinion, then I respect people that disagree with me. And I respect if you come to a different conclusion, then I love to know how and talk about that. But please do share how you feel about these rants, because maybe one day I can put a filter on my mouth and also help ensure that I don't get demonetized by YouTube. I actually did a great job. I had 5 factual sheets about the pandemic that I didn't share this evening, that just goes to show how governments aren't always looking out for our best interest and give you reason to question the possibility of certain politicians pushing us into World War III. But I did a great job. I avoided it. So I hope I got some brownie points from the wife. Take care, folks. I wish you all more cars and more power.
Good night.
Oh, geez. That was embarrassing.